The Allagash abductions, 4 witnesses to the impossible 4 men, 1 craft, independent testimonies that matched perfectly the most corroborated abduction case in American history. Long before the Allagash Wilderness Waterway becomes associated with one of the most documented abduction cases in American history, it exists as thousands of acres of pristine Maine forest, dark water, and isolation. In August 1976, 4 art students from the Massachusetts College of Art arrived seeking nothing more than adventure and solitude. Jack Weiner, his twin brother Jim, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Foltz paddle into the wilderness with fishing gear, camping supplies, and no expectation that what happens on the night of August 26 will alter the trajectory of their lives forever. The 4 men are artists, skeptics, practical young people pursuing education and careers in creative fields. They are not seekers of the paranormal. They are not believers in extraterrestrial visitation. They are simply friends on a camping trip, navigating the waterways of northern Maine under a canopy of stars that stretches unbroken across the August sky. On the night of the encounter, the 4 men make a decision that will later become critical evidence in documenting what happens to them. Before paddling out onto the lake to fish after dark, they build a large signal fire on the bank of their campsite. The fire is substantial, designed to burn for hours, its purpose practical and simple: to serve as a beacon they can see from the water, guiding them back to shore in the darkness. They leave the fire burning brightly and push their canoe into the lake. The water is calm, the night is clear. The 4 men paddle quietly, their voices low, their attention on the lines trailing into the dark water. Then they see it. A bright sphere rises above the treeline. At first, it appears distant, a light among the stars that moves with purpose rather than the fixed stillness of celestial bodies. The 4 men watch as the sphere approaches. It moves silently, without the sound of engines or rotors, crossing the sky with smooth, deliberate motion. The object grows larger as it nears, and the men realize they are not observing something distant. They are observing something coming directly toward them. The sphere descends. It positions itself above their canoe. Then it projects a beam of light downward, illuminating the 4 men and their small craft on the dark water. The light is brilliant, encompassing, impossible to look away from. The 4 men are trapped within it, suspended in brightness that erases the night around them. The next thing they recall is being back at their campsite. The canoe drifts near the shore. The 4 men are disoriented, confused about how they returned. They look toward the signal fire they built before departing, the fire that was blazing when they left. It has burned down to coals. Hours have passed. The fire's state tells them something impossible. They have lost time, significant time, time they cannot account for and cannot remember. The 4 men do not speak much about what happened. They pack up their campsite. They return to their lives. They carry the experience as a shared mystery, a night that makes no sense, a gap in memory that none of them can explain. Years pass. The memory remains, but the details do not surface. The missing hours stay missing. Then, in the years following the encounter, Jim Weiner begins experiencing symptoms he cannot control. Nightmares invade his sleep. Intrusive imagery disrupts his waking hours. Physical symptoms manifest without medical explanation. The disturbances grow severe enough that Jim seeks help. He undergoes hypnotic regression, a therapeutic process intended to access memories that may be buried or suppressed. What emerges during that session is not what Jim expects. Under hypnosis, he recalls being taken aboard the craft. The details that surface are specific, vivid, and deeply distressing. Jim describes beings with large eyes. He describes physical examination, instruments used on his body, procedures conducted without his consent. He describes the interior of the craft, the texture of surfaces, the quality of light. The session produces a narrative of abduction that explains the missing hours, but raises questions that demand investigation. Jim contacts the other 3 men. Independently, without collaboration or shared preparation, Jack Weiner, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Foltz each undergo hypnotic regression conducted by different hypnotherapists. The sessions are separated by time and geography. The four men do not compare notes. They do not discuss what they remember before the sessions. Each man enters hypnosis alone, guided by a different professional, with no opportunity for collusion or coordination. What emerges from these four independent sessions is impossible to dismiss. The accounts match, not in vague generalities, but in specific, consistent details. All four men describe the same beings. All four describe the same sequence of events. All four recall the same instruments, the same environment aboard the craft, the same procedures. The consistency across four independently obtained testimonies becomes the cornerstone of the case's credibility. Raymond Fowler, the researcher who documented the Betty Andreessen abduction experiences and established himself as one of the most meticulous investigators in the field, takes on the Allagash case. Fowler recognizes immediately what makes this case extraordinary. Multiple witness abduction cases exist in the literature, but none possess the evidentiary structure of the Allagash event. 4 witnesses, 4 independent hypnotic regression sessions, 4 consistent accounts. The probability of fabricating such consistency without collaboration, according to researchers, approaches statistical impossibility. Fowler documents every aspect of the investigation. He reviews the hypnotic session transcripts. He interviews the 4 men separately and together. He examines the timeline, the physical evidence of the burned-down fire, the psychological profiles of the witnesses. He finds no indication of fraud, no motive for deception, no inconsistencies that would suggest fabrication. To further corroborate the accounts, all 4 men agree to undergo polygraph examination. Kevin Quinlan, an experienced polygraph examiner, conducts the tests. The examinations are thorough, designed to detect deception or uncertainty in the witnesses' statements. All 4 men pass. The polygraph results add another layer of documentation to a case already distinguished by its evidentiary strength. The 4 men are not willing participants in the publicity that follows. They do not seek fame. They do not profit from their experience. Several describe the investigation process itself as distressing, an unwelcome intrusion into lives they are trying to rebuild after an event that has already caused significant psychological harm. Jim Weiner, in particular, struggles with the aftereffects. The nightmares persist. The intrusive imagery continues. He describes a persistent sense of being watched, of surveillance that never ends. The symptoms align with post-traumatic stress responses documented in other abduction cases, suggesting psychological injury resulting from an experience that violated bodily autonomy and personal safety. The other 3 men report similar disturbances, though to varying degrees. Sleep disruption becomes common. A sense of unease permeates their lives in ways it did not before the encounter. They describe the experience as something that altered them without their consent, an event that reshaped their understanding of reality and left them grappling with questions that have no satisfying answers. Fowler publishes his findings in the Allagash Abductions in 1993, providing the case with comprehensive documentation that remains a reference point in abduction research. The book details the independent hypnotic sessions, the polygraph results, the consistency of testimony, and the physical evidence of elapsed time. It presents the case not as proof of extraterrestrial visitation, but as a rigorously documented event that defies conventional explanation and demands serious consideration. The Allagash case occupies a unique position in the American UAP and abduction literature. It is the only 4-witness abduction case in which all witnesses underwent independent hypnotic regression and produced consistent accounts. The combination of multiple witnesses, independent testimony, polygraph verification, and physical evidence of missing time creates a corroborating framework unmatched by any other multiple witness abduction case in the documented record. Decades after the encounter, the 4 men maintain their accounts. They do not recant. They do not claim fabrication. They describe what happened on the night of August 26, 1976, as a real event that occurred to real people in a real place. The Allagash Wilderness Waterway remains as it was, thousands of acres of dark water and silent forest, a landscape where the impossible became documented reality. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.